Hey, Chloe, it's really good to meet you. Thank you for coming on the show. You have such an interesting background. As soon as I heard you're available, I'm like, well, let's jump in and get it started. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. My pleasure. Great to have, really great to meet you.
So I mean, you're an attorney. You work for the State Department. Now you're part of a firm doing a lot of DOS kind of stuff, especially with delays. But I kind of want to just get back to where it all started. How did you get involved, decide to go the law route?
Well, I would say deciding to go the immigration route actually came first.
First,
Yeah, my family was involved in sponsoring refugees when I was very young, and I remember really viscerally the going to help some kids register for school, and they didn't have birth certificates. They had documents with C-suite dates. They were
yeah.
coming from Vietnam, and that left a huge impression on me. That being so young, that people had already come so far through something so difficult was really profound.
Mhm.
And their experiences and speaking different languages. And so from an early age, I thought, I want to do that. This is really fascinating. There is, of course, a huge ability to help people. But I get a great satisfaction out of sort of helping people meet those goals, but also the interactions with other cultures, learning other languages, and the travel. So that all spoke to me, and I thought, okay, the good way to do that is through the law. So here I am.
Once you graduated, did you go straight into DOS or did you do other stuff first?
Yeah, I actually I started first with private practice, doing a lot. It's very common as a young lawyer. If you want to get into court, you're going to start in immigration court.
Yeah.
They'll let a lot of people without experience jump right in there. So I did a lot of criminal asylum and those kinds of proceedings in court.
Mhm.
From there, I thought, okay, let's learn the corporate side. So I went to a different firm, learned a lot about employment immigration that way.
Mhm.
Then one day I was presenting in an AILA panel, and someone from the office that I worked in for a long time came approached me and said, "Have you ever thought about working at the State Department?" And I said, honestly, no, I hadn't. So that's how I ended up there.
How long were you practicing immigration law before making the switch?
4 years.
4 years. Okay. So where did you start at state and where did that turn into? What kind of work were you doing?
Yeah, of course. So I started as counsel for the visa office, which is part of the Bureau of Consular Affairs. For people not familiar with State Department operations, that's passports and visas, right? And a little bit of assistance to U.S. citizens overseas. That can become quite high profile. Adoptions, things like that. So started there as counsel, focused primarily on Africa, that part of the world, helping consular officers there. That as an attorney for the Bureau of Consular Affairs, consular officers around the world, as many of your listeners might be aware, mostly are not lawyers, right? But every day they have to apply a huge body of immigration law to
Yeah.
what they are doing, nationality, visas, everything. And that's not an easy job. They do receive training before they head out. But in 6 weeks, you can't sort of go over everything that
Yeah.
someone's going to encounter. And so I think the Bureau of Consular Affairs is very smart. Has now that office grew in my tenure there, a large number of dedicated attorneys who are providing that assistance day in and day out to consular officers to make sure that they have the support they need to get the job done right.
Were you working in DC?
Yeah, I was based in DC. That's where, obviously the headquarters are, but everyone in our office is also a consular officer, gets consular commission. So I spent a lot of time overseas as well. So I adjudicated or supervised adjudications in South America, the Caribbean, Europe,
Which
Russia,
country specifically?
Africa.
Oh, is it just regions
Mhm.
or specific embassies or consulates?
Yeah, specific embassies and consulates. Like we would do some regional training and some worldwide trainings as
Yeah.
well. But been at a lot of embassies and consulates overseas. Amazing experience.
I mean, you would actually be in the embassy doing interviews and stuff like that?
Yeah, sometimes or acting as consular supervisor, depending on what the need is, either there at the consular section or some interest the department might have had in
Which
one.
particular post where you put in?
How much time do you have?
Wow. Okay. So, I mean, so because I usually you're there for like 2 years and stuff like that. I mean, you were part state for I think 12, 15 years, something like that. So
60,
you moved
yeah,
around
almost
a
60.
lot.
Yeah, I would go on shorter assignments, usually to fill in staffing gaps or address certain concerns. So I I did not spend 2 years at a time in those locations, but enough time to have some interesting experiences and really enjoy the work. And it was always very fulfilling to roll up their sleeves and spend time with consular officers who I think all have their hearts in the right place and are trying to get the job done right.
And which languages did you learn to speak?
The only one that I really feel great about interviewing in is Spanish. I speak mostly what I would call African market French. I can engage in some hard negotiations, but like when I adjudicated in Russia, I either did visa classifications where they spoke English or needed to, like students and J's, or I would use a translator like across West Africa. Although French might be the dominant language, you can have a large number of applicants who French is not really a language they feel comfortable interviewing in, particularly on the immigrant visa side. So used a lot of translators.
When were you in Russia?
That was in 2012.
Okay, so it's still operations were normal in 2012 still, right?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by normal in Russia, but it was not the current state of play. Where we offer only diplomatic. The U.S. only offers diplomatic visa services in Russia at this time. Yeah.
You know, I'm handling. I mean, there's a client I have. I did a marriage case, one of the last ones to get done in Moscow before they shut it down for her visas. And she had her dad's case. I was pending with another firm, but they just leave it. So she came from me the marriage case. Marriage case is done, and we have a relationship. We talk. She said they issued the dad's immigrant visa in Moscow last month. They made some sort of exception, so I was very surprised to hear that because it's almost possible to get that they're in Moscow right now. So I think the case was pending for so long they just gave in and like, let's give this guy a visa or something. But obviously, they go to Poland or Kazakhstan and Tajikistan right now. Such a mess, right? It was the Moscow situation. But yeah, I deal with Iranian cases, Russian cases, and it's always been a whole career. It's like a whole different thing to deal with those kind of cases because of all the complexity with state and issuance.